Every day I wake up, it's not the shame. What's the song? What's the lyrics? Lonely is a man without love. Oh, I got lyrics here. Every day I start out, then I cry my heart out. Lonely, a man without love.
Oh, hello.
That's how we start our podcast, all right?
Baritone on you, my friend.
Yes.
Fantastic. Yeah, Moon Knight, and
Part two, part deux, the second,
deux.
the second episode. Okay, go on. I lost it.
The second episode. So the first episode, it kind of dawned on me, Matt, that last week we in no uncertain terms basically trashed Moon Knight in quite. I know it was 99% me trashed it quite hard.
But I would say, Forrest, we are. I'll be honest. If you're dear listener, and you're probably known by this, we are quite critical.
Yes,
I'll be quite honest. We are nitpicking here, and I think the things that we are nitpicking are tiny things and quite unusually unpopular opinions as well. Hence why you have to listen to us, right? Because we're saying the things that nobody thinks that they should say, but we're actually saying it. We're cutting edge. We're not really.
Oh, look at our podcast. You can't get this on any of the YouTube videos.
There you go. We're saying fucking barely nonsensical stuff that we were watching. Going, I think it was good.
If my internet actually decided to work, I'll be able to say my set opinion. So you can wait 20 minutes before I express it. But yes, last week, and I think they were comments that were rooted from a reality, right? They weren't just We didn't just come out with them.
No, they were fair.
Yeah, and I have to say, for the final 3 episodes,
yes, clap.
Round
Won
of
it.
applause.
Wasn't it, mate? It redeemed
Take a bow.
itself.
It redeems itself. It is on another level of what not the first 3, but the second and third episode can basically get in the bin compared to all of the other episodes.
I think I'm really glad you say that, because when I watched the rest of these episodes, I went, oh, now I remember why I loved it so much. That, because I was genuinely worried, and when I rewatched it, I was like, oh yeah, this is absolutely one of my favourite superheroes currently in the MCU. Hands down.
Absolutely amazing. I mean, just overall, is like there's so much to take in. It's ridiculously rich. Lots of layers to it. It's a clusterfuck, but an exciting one.
So many things happen and get revealed with not only Mark Spector as Stephen Grant, but also with Layla. Even Harrow's character gets fleshed out a little bit more. This is the one thing that it's in my notes, but I'll say it now. Like, I kind of wish he went evil immediately. It was really difficult to tell where he was going to go as an antagonist in this. And he goes a little bit power hungry, and it backfires, and there was more emotional depth with his character. Yeah, like, mate, even like bringing out the Egyptian gods, man. Like, I actually really liked it. It was good. Yeah.
100%. I think the only thing I will still say from last week is that just the kind of Egyptian gods and all of that, I wouldn't find interesting no matter what I watched it on. Do you know what I mean? The Mummy series didn't really appeal to me. None of that type of thing really appeals to me anyway. So I think I was lucky with this series that actually a large portion of it isn't to do with that, and it's it deals with the human psyche in many ways.
Big time.
Shall we go to episode 4?
I think we should. Let's start there.
So episode 4, we get. And I've got to remind myself of the characters at this point. I need to. This is where I do need notes, because episode 4 we go. We travel back to kind of Layla as Tomb Raider. Layla's Tomb
do.
Raider episode. They're kind of, it's a lot of running around tombs trying to beat Harrow. Yeah,
Trying to beat Harrow to finding the stone of which has the life source, let's say, of Amit,
Yep.
which is yeah, it's a rat race, isn't it? That's literally what it is. That first part of that episode, all the way actually to the end of that episode. I think there's lovely bits of cinematography in there. I think the Tomb Raider-esque, even the Mummy-esque sort of attack to it all. It really works. It's adventurous. I sort of really like the in-depth bits of Mark thinking that Khonshu wants Layla for his avatar, and I was actually wondering, I put myself in the question there. I was like, I know we see later on Layla becoming an avatar of somebody else, but she did say she wanted that to be temporary in the later episodes. So I wonder whether we will get to see Layla as a Khonshu avatar eventually. So we get a female Moon Knight, which might be pretty cool actually. And actually, there's loads of cosplays out there of female Moon Knight as an avatar and all that kind of stuff. And I feel like we're kind of the fan bases are bringing that into manifestation in a way. And there's so many different types of cosplays out there with Moon Knight, which is great. So you get all these variations. But like a female Moon Knight, I'd be all there for it. But yeah, there's lots of development with the characters, and obviously big reveals at the end, which is the huge twists at the end as well. But do we we also see Steven falling in love, having a kiss with Layla as well, and Mark not really digging that. How did you feel about those moments? Those the romantic tones
the romance. Do
we need it?
I don't mind it actually, because I don't think it ever dwelled on a specific moment. Any of the romantic moments, I don't think it dwells on. I think we get from other characters. So at one point, I think even Khonshu might say to Mark at one point, like, you're being distracted by your love for Layla. But I none of the actual bits got too. I didn't mind it because it didn't dwell on it. We didn't have like a random night with Layla. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like all this shit's going on. But hang on a minute, I've still got time for 7 hours of passionate lovemaking in the middle of this.
Yeah, it wasn't like Bond. It wasn't like. No. They're outside the tomb and they have a romantic kiss, and then you have they're like falling down on the Egyptian lovely satin silk. Na, 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 na. And she's like, "Oh, Stephen," and it's like, "It's me, Mark." She's like, "Oh shit," maybe you could have done that. I don't know, but I'm glad they didn't. What I actually quite enjoyed about that moment is Layla's clearly attracted to Stephen because it's Mark. She sees Mark.
Yeah,
she only hears Stephen, right?
Yeah, but also I think there was a very specific moment. It was kind of Stephen's intelligence, wasn't it? So although she is like
new side,
falling, exactly, new side, less of a more vulnerable, but kind of pointing out what the IQ behind this person as to why Layla loves that kind of thought processes that he has and those ideas and realizes they've got such a shared pool of interests.
I think episode 4, in terms of being a good episode, it was a really good episode for Layla.
Yeah,
there was a lot of character development in here. We learned a little bit more about Father as well, and in terms of her motives as well. She is an explorer as much as Mark Spector is a mercenary. Do you know what I mean? She is an intelligent woman. She is very much inspired by her father's work, and wants to continue that, and wants to support Mark as well. The fact that Mark during that episode was like, "No, I want to go and do this," and she was like, "Oh yeah, I'm assuming you want me out of it. You don't want me part of it." He's like, "No, screw you. I'm here for you, and we're going to do this together." Again, it's that strong-headed character development for a female character, which is great. And as well, it's exciting because you know that it's building to something of what we got as a payoff in the final episode. Yeah, I thought it was good. I mean, in terms of, I think we should just go straight to the end because obviously we've got to talk about 2 other episodes.
So much, yeah. All of the major content it was very much in the same vein as episode 3. I think really most of this episode you're kind of just like, this is an extension. This is just a like I say, a rat race, and then boom. To about 25-30 minutes into the episode, Harrow shoots Mark, and then Mark falls back in dramatic fashion into a little bit of water, which
Shallow pond.
Now I think of this shallow pond in a tomb. Would there be water in a tomb in the driest part of the world?
It's Egyptian and it's magical. It's mythical.
True that. And wouldn't look so cool on camera. Maybe if he fell into sand.
Just rock. Just goosh, and his head just hitting the back of the rock.
Loads of blood everywhere. Yeah, good luck to you. So he gets shot several times, goes down, and then we get an almighty what the fuck, where Mark.
What were your reactions, man? I'm desperate to hear.
I was so excited because I was like, oh, this feels more like episode 1. This kind of feels more like I thought this program was going to get to. Like, but also what I annoyingly did, but then again I didn't know what it meant by it. Was I looked up because I think I was watching it and I was thinking, right, I just need a little summary. I need to find a review that kind of just reminds me of what we've kind of learnt so far in the last couple of episodes. And then I saw a review where someone went, it talks about the end of the episode 4, and it said turns into One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And I was like, what the fuck? And then literally we go to
realize,
and I was like, but yeah, it's amazing, and I think we get the actual content we get in episode 4 specifically. I think so. We have a pan of the room of this kind of asylum, and or ward. I don't know what the terminology around that. What this place is, but this ward area,
like all the Egyptian artifacts they're like visual cues and everything that was seen in the previous, all the way down to the fish, all the way down to a figure of Moon Knight, and even better, and this is something to really highlight on this podcast because this is all about not the non-heroes. This podcast, right? It's what we talk about. The supporting artists came back. In terms of the henchmen and henchwomen of the Harrow in that first episode where Stephen Grant was chased down, or even the Golden Man was calling out numbers for bingo. And obviously Layla then turns up. So there's all of these supporting cast come back. And you're like, oh, okay. So when that happened, mate, what world did you believe was real?
So at that point, I was fully convinced that world was real, and
the meta one.
Yeah, I didn't think we were ever returning to Egypt. I thought that was going to be it then, and then the next episode or couple of episodes we're going to explore kind of the state, which it did turn out to be, but in a slightly different way. Explore why it's Stephen and Mark. Yeah. I thought that was going to be the focus, and then and was going to then connect to him being tied to his bed. Like that he was already aware of the issues that he was having, but he wasn't quite sure how to navigate them. But yeah. So that I definitely believe we were in the meta world. What about you? First time you saw it?
First time I saw it exactly the same, but then the second time round, I quickly saw the clues of not and knowing exactly what they're on at the time. So it's the moment when they're down the corridor and he's looking through all the different doors and stuff, and obviously it kind of the light slightly hilts to the right, and then it quite clearly shows that they're on a ship, they're on something else, and then obviously we get the ending of the reveal of Tarway. With the Egyptian god Hippo.
What a character, by the way. What an amazing.
Are you a fan of that?
I love that.
Mate, I thought you were going to rip into it. I was watching it, I was like, Forrest is going to hate that.
No, I thoroughly enjoyed, and the actual CGI of it was quality. I
Really?
believed that hippo.
No, it was, yeah.
I thought the hippo was there, but that's episode 5, Matt. Mate, we didn't get that far in episode 4. Episode 4, we just finish. He's talking to Harrow. I think he goes into the room and he gets dragged away by the guards, and then that's it.
Oh, yeah, we did.
But
Sorry.
Episode 5 is all about the memories and the doors and all that stuff.
Thank you very much. You are correct.
That's all right, man.
But yeah, I think with that, let's move on to episode 5 because that's clearly what's all I want to talk about is episode 5. And I've got to say, episode 5 is the episode that has everything.
Oh, I think episode 5, and I don't say this lightly, might be the strongest episode of any Marvel TV series to date.
Oh, really?
It is. Yes, I think it's amazing. I think it has so many levels to it. So revelations in a cool way. It kind of reminds me of Wanda doing the same thing when Wanda and Agatha meet. Yeah, it's very similar,
because
isn't
it's
it?
Character development, and also there's a lot of callbacks to the world that we live in. So the fact that so we meet Tarway, and Tari talks about you're on a consciousness plane, much like, and she says it out loud, the ancestral plane. So and she says there is a vast, wealth of all these different kind of purgatories, in a way, let's call them. And also, not to say that there isn't anymore, because there is now, because obviously we're going to get to review this later on, actually fairly soon. Thor and Love and Thunder, we know for a fact that Valhalla is a thing, So these characters can come back. We know that, we've got all these different levels of consciousness and stuff. It's exciting, and I immediately bought it. I wasn't like skeptical or anything like that. I believed it. The field of reeds, and I think the reason why I particularly enjoy this, other than not just the ancestral plane and that kind of stuff, but with this consciousness, it comes from myth, it comes from history, it comes from stuff like, same thing with Valhalla. It's all coming from something that we as human beings have been taught, learned, told, about it, and they're using a lot of the Egyptian heritage and history to tell these superheroes, because that's what they are. When we talk about these gods, Tarway, we talk about Amit, like they are gods. Hercules is about to turn up in Thor, right? These are genuine, like, superheroes that we as ancestors, our Greeks and all that. Roman times, they created these people, right? If not, they may have existed. Who knows, right? So these are like superheroes that are being used in a supernatural form, which is exactly what you want to see. So yeah, I think the development with that on a historical Egyptian sense was a good call. What did you think about in terms of the splitting and the doubling of Mark and Steven together?
To be quite honest, I think, if anything, this episode in particular showed what an amazing actor Oscar is.
Completely.
He's what a skill he has to be able to flip from one to the other, and also all I want to say now, because once we get right to the end of the final episode, there is something I want to add back to this episode, which it even shows you even more how brilliant Oscar is. But I thought it was great, and I thought they did such a good job of like Stephen kind of being made aware about the mother, and then before it's really like told to you, because you watch a scene with it happen, it kind of already, when you find out about the mum, it takes you back to episode 1 when Stephen's on the phone to his mate, and you're like, oh shit, yeah. And
I
then
nearly
it's
flipping
amazing.
ruined that last week in the podcast.
Oh really?
Because when I used him talking to his mother, and I was about to say, but he's not really talking to his mum, and I filtered
Ooh.
myself out because I knew that was a reveal, and I was like, I can't say that. But
Oh
yeah,
no.
isn't
But
that a
yeah,
great reveal?
it's amazing, and like, you know, and it is, they did such a good work around trauma. Was that your throat that just made that noise? Then I've got a.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
That was one hell of a noise. That was, mate.
yeah. I'm feeling a little
Uh,
bit ropey, but I'll be honest, we're just cracking on. Let's go.
Fine, gotcha. Gotcha. Don't mention the fact he nearly threw up. So yeah, it was amazing. It was great, and the trauma that he dealt with, it all just feels like. It feels like the writers and the crew have done their research into mental health and having multiple personalities, or yeah,
Absolutely. I think what they've done is that they've completely looked into the condition dissociative identity disorder, which is DID, and a lot of people obviously have that condition, and it's something that's being currently now still explored in terms of exactly what it's based around, but the main conditions around it, and I am reading from the internet here, Google is telling me this, is that it's based around trauma. Now, and obviously with the story, and in terms of the creation of Stephen Grant as a coping mechanism on trauma of the loss of his own brother, and I'll be honest, it breaks my heart. It literally, when I watched it and that reveal, I'm thinking, honestly, I don't know what, I got really emotional about it. I got emotional about it the first time because you just gotta go, God, like, obviously I don't have it and you don't have it, so we don't know how it feels. But like, for those people that do have that in real life, it must be incredibly alienating and incredibly difficult to manage and cope, and also isolating to tell people about it as well. To go from one day to another, oh no, I'm not that person, I'm this person right now. And them noticing that and working through that. I've seen YouTube videos of people with DIDs and and the explanation around it and stuff, and it must be really, really difficult. And honestly, I got a bit emotional about it, but also I got really excited about the idea of the fact that the MCU have taken this as a risk and have taken this as a bulk to go, this is a superpower.
yeah,
Isn't this an incredible thing? And that positive affirmation, that positive reinforcement, what is a genuine mental health condition being used for a superhero. That must, for those people that have that must be incredibly reassuring and wonderful to see. So big props to the writers, big props to MCU for actually doing this story, and as well the comic book writers, the people that created this character as well in the first place. Like 100%.
Agree with everything you've said. Yeah, absolutely. And what I also appreciate is that they haven't stuck this behind an R-rated or an 18+ TV series. This is, I don't know quite what the specific age rating, but it's certainly I don't think it will be high, 12 at a push. So this is, I would deem, a family appropriate thing to watch to a certain degree, and that's perfect to highlight and address something like did in an accessible show for everyone to watch is brilliant, and it really tackles themes in an honest fashion. Like that particular scene where we see Mark come out of I think it is his mum's shiva, right? Because they kind of surely his shiva and funeral, which shiva is like the Jewish Jewish funeral after death.
It happens in episode 6, but Mark says to Stephen while he's in stone, he says, I realised that you were my superpower. So he literally says it, like the fact that they're literally going, the fact that he has multiple personalities, that is his strength, that is his coping mechanism, and he's owning that and he's celebrating that. I love that message, and I think in terms of, you and I are big advocates and supporters and champions over like neurodiversity and all that kind of stuff, and it's that's what we want to see more of. I'm getting emotional about it, but like that is genuinely what we want to see more of on screen. Doing it through human stories, doing it truthfully, and obviously using these wonderful characters that are being created from source material to strengthen real people. And these young kids are watching this, teenagers are watching this, and I think they did that really well. And I think there are other shows out there in MCU that maybe not have done it as strongly, but yeah, I think we need more of that. We need more of that.
And I think, to a certain degree, if they hadn't have done episode 5, then we might not be saying the things that we're saying. Because actually, although there are remarks and it's still dealt with well, I would say episode 5 grounds it in the honesty and transparency of why Mark is the way Mark is. And I think you need to know that, because you need to go, right, this has come from a place of trauma, this has come from something negative, but actually what positives and what benefits and what things can you do in order for that negative to become a positive.
And it didn't, especially in episode 5, it didn't linger into the drama too much. It didn't go too deep. It didn't become harrowing, pun intended, for Mr. Harrow there. So I had to explain it there. You all knew exactly what I meant there, guys. But they didn't go full pelt with that, and they dealt with it really, really well. I think in terms of that part of the story, it developed it rounded his character off in a bow.
Yeah,
and then
absolutely.
the moment he, and we know we're jumping ahead here to episode 6, but like in the moment he came back into Moon Knight and seeing Stephen and Mark just switch and switch and switch. When, especially in those fight scenes at the end, it's just so good. It's so good because that's a payoff there. You're like, oh, they're connected. They're with each other. They're on the same page. It works. It's so good.
And it's so. Episode 5 was about kind of they needed to balance the scales. In order to not be sent to this is where I lose it with words, Matt. But they're going off to these seeded area or the weeded area.
The field of reeds.
Field of reeds, not weeds or seeds. It's reeds.
That's their heaven. If we went to a field of weeds, I don't know if it is for heaven, mate. Just come, just go. Weeds. Off you go. You're going to the field of weeds. Oh, thank you. Oh, bloody hell.
Oh, no. You mean the field of weed.
Weed.
Oh, lovely.
Oh,
what a great time. Oh, proper chilled out. What an environment. Yeah, field of that one. Reeds. No. Yes, reeds. That's it. And the balancing the scales, and I thought that was the very end of episode 5. They balanced the scales. The two, not in the words of Spice Girls, 2 become 1. And it genuinely, it was a lovely moment because it was about embracing the
I never thought in my life in this podcast we would reference an MCU moment to the Spice Girls. But hey, it happened.
And yeah, here I am. You don't know me well enough, Matt, mate. But yeah,
you lost yourself now.
I've lost it. It was a great moment. End of episode 5. It's fantastic. He can't, Mark rises from being shot, and then we see him in the Moon Knight suit, I think, as the last shot. Or is that left to the last episode? I can't remember. We definitely see him come back, and I can't remember if we do get an initial shot of him in suit. I think we do, because didn't Khonshu's in the middle of he's talking to Harrow, isn't he? And then he becomes psychically aware that Mark is alive again. and Khonshu disappears, and I think that's why he
Oh,
kind
we
of
do.
summons the
That sort of
suit.
brings him back to life. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's that exactly it. That is it. Episode 6. Let's talk about it. Because honestly, and again, it just rided off the coattails of episode 5. Episode 5 was super strong. Episode 6 was just as strong for me. I remember watching it the first time and being like, oh yeah, that was good. Like, really enjoyed it, and there were some really good moments, I thought. But even more so this time around for me now. I think it just had action packedness all over the shop. Now, fight scenes everywhere, from Egyptian gods to fighting each other at mega form. It was like watching a flipping Power Rangers episode, and then it was like moving into like Moon Knight having a fight, and then Layla's getting in there. It's the Scarlet Scarab. It was just brilliant. Tops, honestly. I think in terms of a finale episode, it's up there with WandaVision for me.
Ooh, yeah, I think it's great. First 5 minutes for me were I found a little bit ropey, but I think for me, first 5 minutes were like, oh, okay, we're back to, we're back to Egypt, we're back to the rat race that episode 4 finish, or 3 finish with. And I think for me, that kind of went, we've had such a nice time away from this. And now but that was only the first 5 minutes, because then we get into, like I say, some incredible action scenes, a lot going on. But I think, first 5 minutes for me were a bit like, okay, we've had a really hyped up episode 5, which has ended with, he's got, he's back to Moon Knight, and then the first 5 minutes is Kayla, or Layla, sorry, not Kayla, Layla. Finding Mark, or they're kind of on a journey, and I'm like, what's going on? Like, just get straight into it. Why are we pissing around? Like, make it a half an hour episode if you need to. I don't need this whole like, when's Harrow gonna find out Mark's back and all this stuff.
Yeah.
We know he's back, so let's just bring him in straight away. No pissing
100%.
around. But it was brilliant. It was amazing, and it was great. I think the bit where we see which god is the one that Layla is temporarily an avatar for?
Tarway.
And I love that bit. It gets her out of a sticky situation, but then we see her in a kick-ass suit.
Oh my god, that reveal of Layla. It was so good. It was just the wings and the daggers coming out from the back. It was like something like Deadpool. It was so cool. And I got to say it now. The entrance for Layla as the Scarlet Scarab was top tier great. And I want to see Scarlet Scarab appear more. If we're going to get like Young Avengers, or like even like a full female team up movie, I know we're getting it with the Marvels, but I think we should think about, having all these different, godlike characters meeting each other. Wouldn't it be great if we had like Jane Foster and Layla?
Oh, mate.
Like, just like teaming up, and also that you can get Florence Pugh. It would have been great if she got into the Thunderbolts in some way. Like, it would just be
Pepper
so
Potts.
great. Yeah, Pep coming in. She's like,
I know how much
do you know what
Pep.
movie you're in? Where am I?
Where am I? I thought it was all, and also like puts the likes of Wonder Woman to shame as well, right? Because it's like, that's how you do a costume. That's how you like just awesome scene.
You had that glorious moment towards the end of the episode where there was that kid that saw the Scarlet Scarab holding that car, and she went, "Are you an Egyptian superhero?" And she went, "An Egyptian, I am." And I was like, "Yes,
that's
awesome.
That's so good.
That's representation done right." Yeah, like that is it. That's what we want to see more of. And I think in terms of that character, flipping brilliant. Yeah, I'm all for it. Absolutely all for that, because I think in terms, again, her character is layered, her narrative is justified. She's got the loss of her father. She's got that superhero origin in her. It's a story that's in depth enough for us to play and to resonate with as an audience. That is across demographics, right?
Yeah.
Let's see more MCU. I'm saying it now. Disney, give us more Scarlet Scarab. Let's see some more Layla, please. Thank you. Goodbye.
Yeah. And honestly, Matt, I think, I reckon 10 years, Tomb Raider, Layla will have it, mate. Layla will be
I mean,
actress, not Layla. Character of Layla being Tomb Raider would be a bit of a fetch, but May, who plays Layla, 100% Tomb Raider.
What if we got a standalone Scarlet Scarab TV show that was in the style of Tomb Raider?
I mean, that would be incredible.
I'm for that.
That would be. Actually, I forgot to say. So, there was it was a film called, I think, Pitch Black, which is set in caves. It's a horror film. Have you ever seen it?
Rings a bell.
Pitch Black. And you know when we're talking about episode 4, all these episodes confuse me now. Episode 4, and we were saying that they were in the caves and that we had like some really scary creatures come up to them and stuff. It really reminded me. I don't think it is Pitch Black. I don't think it is. There's this horror film, which, no, it's definitely not. A horror film that's set in Scotland, and they go down a cave, and it's all these kind of monsters that are like tracking these kind of explorers, and it really reminded me of that.
But I think I think with her character and seeing her team up with Moon Knight as well was really great at the end. I think the fight sequences were absolutely brilliant, and as well, like the moment when Mark blacked out, and the next thing you know, he wakes up and he sees himself covered with blood, dead bodies everywhere. His Harrow's thing, walking stick, but now has become some sort of axe. Is now, literally directly to his head. He's became somebody else, and then that hint, it's like you go. What I loved about that is that at that point, I thought everybody's character development was wrapped up, right? And then I heard through when I was watching it the first time. I do remember the speculation that there is a third character for Moon Knight. And I looked it up. I saw that there was this Jake Lockley, and I was like, "Oh, okay, interesting. Okay, we haven't seen that yet." And then when they got to the fly in the cuckoo's nest bit, even when he sat down at the chair being interrogated as Mark, you notice his accent is even more heavy Brooklyn than it is naturally with Mark. So there's rumours that is Jake we're seeing.
Well, if you hold on a second, Matt, I have something more that will spell that out for you. There is a way of knowing exactly which moment he plays Jake. So just to elaborate, end of the final episode of episode 6, we get a mid credit scene. So it's the only kind of end credit, mid credit scene throughout the whole series, of which Harrow gets picked up from the same ward that we've seen Spectre in multiple times. Gets picked up by an anonymous character. Harrow gets wheeled outside of this ward and put into a car. And then in the car, we have Khonshu looking at Harrow.
He looks really smart as well. Like, how did he... Like, he's changed his outfit.
Yes, it's changed.
I'm interested by that.
Yes, and he has, and he little bit of dialogue there, and I can't remember what they speak about before the reveal of Jay. I think is it Harrow is something like, "Oh well, you've lost your avatar now," something that, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's kind of like
like what you want.
Because that's the thing. So, as far as we're led to believe at the end of the episode, is that Khonshu's freed Mark of the Avatar status. So Mark and oh my god, are free. Not Spencer. Is it Spencer? Mark and the other version of Mark. Stephen. Mark and Stephen are free. There's too many names in this thing. Mark and Stephen are free. That's what we're led to believe. So then Harrow's inquiring to Khonshu about his avatar, and Khonshu says, well, don't worry about that, because my new guy is Jake Lockley, of which we get The person driving the car turns around, and who is it? It's our good old friend Mark and Stephen, but as Jake Lockley.
I was about to say, wait, what? Did you see my face? I was like, no.
Jake Lockley with the body of the guy. So Oscar is playing Jake Lockley. Is probably the easiest way to say this.
Well, and the confirmation as well that they're in England as well, because when we were watching it, I was like, where are we? Like, is he? But like, yeah, no. So there is absolutely a third person of which neither of them, are aware of, and so it's left on a cliffhanger. And this is what I'm going to say now. We need to see more. There's more now to develop and flesh out with these characters. With Oscar Isaac playing all these 3 roles, there's more to see for Moon Knight. And do you know what? Not 24 hours ago, there has been an article from Fansided saying Moon Knight is making a comeback in an unexpected move for Marvel. And this is what it says. I'll pause for a second.
Wow.
It says this. Marvel Comics will kill Moon Knight in December, but he will return in January as something more.
What?
According to Jed McKay. Jed McKay's Moon Knight has been perfect since it started. He become a different hero. Blah, 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 blah. And then it talks about how they're planning to kill off Moon Knight in December. But when I'm saying December, I don't know what's coming out in December.
Well, we've got the Marvels. October we've got Loki, and then we've got the Marvels, haven't we?
Well, why are they killing him off in December? Is it
a load of bullshit?
Is it a load of bullshit? But is it the comics?
Oh, you might be reading the comics, mate.
It's the comics.
You're on about the comics. I was going to say that would have been
panicking. Then
that would have been a very strange move for them to randomly kill off someone with me.
Panicking. Honestly, because basically, dear listener, what I basically did is I asked the question, "What is next for Moon Knight?" and it literally came up. That was the first thing I saw. But it's coming. The comic book series is The Vengeance of the Moon Knight comic book series. And they're going to be putting in a different iteration of Moon Knight, which I think maybe, talking of which, maybe they'll introduce the female one, a new avatar.
True that.
But to confirm, MCU Moon Knight, there is nothing currently planned officially.
I feel that we are going to get Moon Knight appear in another film before we get a second series. I don't think they're going to do a second series before he arrives in someone else's film.
Where does he turn up?
It'll be as a cameo. It won't be like he won't show. It'll be as a like they're going to keep it quiet. He'll reveal as a cameo, and everybody will be like, "Oh shit, that means we're going to get a second series." Then they'll announce the second series.
Honestly, I genuinely can't think of where Moon Knight will turn up. I cannot, in my head, think about where he might turn up.
Could be Loki. They could have got a cameo in Loki anyway.
Well, they look at the history,
history.
Yeah, time travel. Yeah,
history. He could end up in Egypt like that. Well easy for him to end up. So I wouldn't be shocked, Matt, if they've already filmed it, already done it. It's just low key. It's in Loki.
Which is coming very, very soon, dear listener. 5th of October. It's been moved. It's coming sooner.
But can I go back? So Jake Lockley. So this is Jake Lockley in the comics is a cab driver who Mark meets later on in his life. So a lot of people were kind of like, well, how are we going to meet Jake in this series? So although he's not a cab driver, he is obviously driving the car. So it's a little nod to that. But when we first see Mark sat chatting to Harrow in the kind of meta world, when we see that happen, apparently the first scene in which he appears with a bandage on his nose. So he's got at one point he's got a bandage on his nose, right? Well, that is neither Mark or the other one who I keep fucking Stephen, Mark or Steve. That is Jake, because Jake has had the fight with the guards in order for that to happen. Because when he stands up, his accent is completely different to any of the other two characters. That's the only time, and if you listen back, you'll see the footage. His accent is completely different just on one line.
Dear listener, that is great. That is amazing.
To go in even deeper, so you know when they're going down the memory rooms, and please ignore Peggy who's banging at the door again. But they're going down the memory lane doors. So you know when Mark's meets Stephen. So Mark opens the tomb and Stephen's in there, isn't he? He's saying like, help me get out. And then you remember there's another room with someone in a tomb, but they're not shouting to get out.
Yeah. Yes.
So they walk past a tomb that's up. Yeah. So apparently that is Jacob.
Yeah, that makes
Jake.
Perfect sense.
So Jake's there, and then so. He's a couple of times, but also in the early episodes, in the mirror, when he's looking at himself in the mirror and stuff, and when you think he's just looking at Mark, there's two mirror images of. So Jake is always there. So you got to go back and watch episode 1 and 2 because Jake, they show him in certain scenes. It's amazing.
He's always there.
Always watching.
Clever. That's why this show was so good. Forrest, come on. I want to know your final rating, mate. What are you giving this?
This is... what is this? I think this has got to be... this is a difficult one, this.
Well, we know... you gave them McCoys. We were talking about the analogy of McCoys. Are you going to... Yeah, you're growing on that? Yeah. Is it more cheese and onion, or is it actually the flame grilled steak?
I think it is... the flame grilled steak that's in a cheese and onion bag. And I say that because the Egyptian mythology I've not got any time for. But actually, you open the bag, you watch the programme, and you realise there's so many other levels to it.
Oh, very
which
good.
Which intrigued me. What about you, matey boy? What about you? Sounds like you're in a fucking McDonald's restaurant, man. I don't know what is going on behind you tonight, mate.
But something's definitely cooking in the kitchen, that's for sure.
So I've gone to Costa Coffee.
So she's giving me a look. She's just giving me a look. Yeah, we're just saying this. Forrest was using the analogy. It sounds like McDonald's is being cooked up in the kitchen. I'm sure it's not McDonald's. Actually, completely off topic. I watched a gourmet TikTok of a guy who bought a McDonald's stuff and turned it into a gourmet meal. It's like a 1 Michelin star. Yeah, it was amazing. Anyway.
I hope you like certain spices because
you just chucked in the whole spices. We just put pressure on Rachel in the kitchen, and that's what's happened.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
The spices have been emptied into a pan.
Oh, mate. That's what Soph does. I love Soph's food, but she honestly, if there's seasoning on the side, she'll put it in. It's like, fuck, how much flavour can I have in this pasta and tomato dish? Peri sauce. Oh, she's arrived as if by magic.
Oh, they're both in it. This one.
I won't be featuring in the next
podcast. Do you know what we should do? Should we ask both of them to host a podcast one week?
Oh, that'd be amazing.
You and Soph.
That. You and Rach hosting a podcast one day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm up for it. Yes.
Soph's up for it.
Oh, good. Yeah, I think.
Do you want to get? Yeah. To be fair, Rachel just made a very good point.
It's true. Rach said
Corpse Bride episode is doing very well.
Get the ratings. Oh, there you go. They don't want to listen to us anymore.
So long as it's about the Little Mermaid, then that's fine.
Little Mermaid. There you go.
Do you want to talk about the Little Mermaid, Rach?
What about it?
Do you want to talk about Little Mermaid?
What about it? Oh God. Right.
That's perfect.
What? What's
My
your
rating.
Matt? Yeah.
Last week I said I wanted it to be a sharing bag of McCoy's flame grilled steak, and it is that in more. It brimmed to the top. It was beautiful. It was satisfying. I shared it with friends. They're all satisfied as well. Everybody's a big Moon Knight fan, and if you're not, you're wrong. Okay, so
True.
I loved it. I thought it was great, and I'm really glad it got better because I was genuinely worried when I got to episode 4. I was like, please be good, because I told Forrest about 2 years that it is good. So yeah, I'm really happy. I'm really glad we got to do it, and we know what. This train doesn't stop. We've got to move on, but we've got a little detour because, my dear friends, we are going to be talking about news that has been released over the last month through MCU and DC. It is our monthly news roundup episode next week.
News. Oh, yes. So also, monthly news roundup.
Also, we haven't done this. We haven't revealed what we're cosplaying as.
Oh, shit. No, we haven't.
So I think next week, mate, let's do this. Let's reveal it. Let's talk about it. Let's reveal to the ideal listeners and recap everything that was suggested. Yeah. Beautiful. Let's do it then next week.
Let's do that. So you've got a cosplay, monthly roundup. You'll also have a gaming, the premiere of our gaming episode. Hopefully we'll have the internet for it and we'll manage to make it work. So we'll make it work. We'll figure out what's going on and we'll sort it out.
We will. Right, we've got also really lots of things planned in the near future in terms of other shows that we're going to be on. We've got some collaborations coming forward. We've got some guests coming on as well. Loads of things happening. Keep it engaged on our Instagram. That's where we're mostly, engaged as well. So just make sure you're following us there. We're on Facebook as well and Twitter. And you can email us at don'tbeaheropodcast@gmail.com if you want, because Forrest is still waiting for that email.
Please send us an email. Get in touch.
Also, buy your tickets for MCM Comic Con so you can come see us.
Lovely stuff. And before Matt is sick or cries or has to look after a child or eats his wife's cooking, let's go.
Nice.
We'll see you. We'll see you later.
Take care, dear listeners. Take care, Forrest, my friend. I love you. Bye bye.
Ta-ra.